Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another segment of the dark side of fitness. Now, I have my guest returning, Walter, back to the studio.
Good to be back.
Welcome back, Walter. And I'd like to ask and talk to you today about something that's dear to my heart, which is MMA.
Yeah.
Which is still part of fitness, so I can get away with it. Now, Walter, once again, Walter has 20 years of experience in the fitness industry. He's an entrepreneur, he's a gym owner, he's trained athletes who've gone to the Olympics and MMA, as well as you've actually fought yourself.
Yeah.
Now, there are three things I wanted to talk to you about. Basically, what you see the dark side, whatever that is, of MMA and Muay Thai. Because we are in Thailand, we can't not talk about Muay Thai.
Yeah.
So let's first start with Muay Thai, because they're completely different. Muay Thai and MMA is absolutely different. You know, in Muay Thai, what are the type of drugs are they using? Is it regulated? Do they even bother? Because some of these fighters have like 300 fights by the time they're 30. How that's possible,
crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah. So when it comes to Muay Thai, when I first started learning Muay Thai in America, we thought of it as this hard fighting system.
Yeah, hardcore. Like
these guys are super good at kickboxing.
elbows and knees.
And then I came to Thailand, and it was quite a bit different than what I expected.
Yeah.
You know, you go train, and you see like some of the trainers are hanging out, and they're not really doing anything very hard.
Yeah.
And now that I've been here a long time and been in Asia a long time and also worked in the fight industry for a long time, listen, you can't have 600 fights and just be up and walking around. It's just not possible. If someone is trying to hurt you 600 times, like seriously hurt you, you're going to be maimed. Eventually, even if you're winning, even if you're winning, your body's going to break down. So I've come to relate it to like professional wrestling.
Okay.
You know, yeah, they're fighting, but there's an entertainment element to it.
Yeah.
And maybe,
They're not like those
they're not
killers.
really
They're not
trying
like,
to
there's
destroy each other each time.
Yeah. All right. And in Muay Thai, like, do these Muay Thai fighters use steroids or drugs? Like, what's the dark secret there?
Honestly, I think in Muay Thai, it's pretty pure. I don't think the guys are doing much.
Okay.
If anything, maybe at the very top to extend their careers. But number one is like the poorer Muay Thai fighters couldn't afford it or even really know what to do. Because
some of these fighters, like, even though they're fighting every week, they're getting like 5,000 baht for a win, 10,000 baht if like it's a big event.
Yeah. I remember when I was younger, when Bakao was coming up and he was winning K1 World Championships, people were saying that, he lived in the gym and he didn't have anything. Now he's successful and now is a lot, but to look back at that, you're already multiple-time world champion, not making any money. So I think it's unrealistic to think that very many Muay Thai guys are doing anything.
Yeah, and the fight game obviously isn't what it used to be. Now, Muay Thai is a great place to start for a lot of MMA fighters.
Yeah.
Now, I guess staying within Asia for now, let's talk about One Championship.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Muay Thai fighters who find their way to One Championship and, try to go for global fame. And even the owner of One Championship, in a way, is half Thai or was born in Thai?
Half Thai.
Thailand?
I think he grew up here as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about One Championship. Like, the one thing that differentiates One Championship to something like UFC is testing. Now, UFC has USADA, but One Championship doesn't really have any drug testing.
No. They have a hydration test and
a hydration test,
it.
But that's just making sure that your body's at a certain water level before you start fighting, so that people don't cut insane amount of weight.
Yeah.
But how can two men fight each other without being drug tested for a living?
I don't know the consistency of it. I don't know. Is there sometimes drug tests? There's a lot of lack of clarity around that. It was discussed that they were going to start doing some more intense drug testing, USADA style drug testing.
Oh yeah, because we want to make it clear that there's levels to testing as well. Like USADA is like prime testing.
Yeah.
You can't get away with almost anything.
You wouldn't. It's near to impossible.
Yeah, but like we have nothing even close to USADA when it comes to One Championship. So like you have these top fighters who are fighting for hundreds of thousands of dollars, why wouldn't you try to get an advantage if you could?
Absolutely.
You were telling me that there's clearly some fighters that you can just look at them and be like, this guy must be on something.
Of course, I don't want to name any names, but look, if you look at the heavyweight division and you see a guy with no body fat, ringing some alarm bells.
Yeah. For example, in UFC, things changed when USADA was introduced.
Yeah.
Now, Alistair Overeem, for example, you can just compare pictures on Google.
Yeah.
Pre-USADA and post-USADA, Alistair Overeem was a completely different person.
Yeah, I mean, and Alistair used to train here in Thailand as well. He's known as a Dutch kickboxer. I like Alistair. I think he was a great fighter. I thought he was a great fighter before. I thought he was a great fighter after. He is the poster boy of USADA.
Yeah.
Before USADA, he was 265 pounds, which is 225.
He had like muscles
kilos,
coming out of his
125
neck.
kilos.
The
He was just all muscle.
Yeah.
He was all muscle, and he was knocking everybody out.
Yeah.
Just knocking everybody out left and right. After USADA, he shrunk dramatically. His body was a lot smoother. His fighting style changed. Interestingly, his toughness changed too. And one of the effects of drug use would be that you would be tougher. So he could no longer take punches like he used to take punches.
Yeah.
And he had a good career arc after.
Okay.
But it changed dramatically. No, he wasn't the demolition man anymore.
Yeah.
He was a tactical, smart fighter.
Yeah. Walter, you were telling me about a pill, like a drug that some fighters use, which is basically just makes you more aggressive and gives you a competitive edge.
Yeah.
Was this for the Muay Thai fighters or was this for the MMA
I mean, it
fighters?
might be possible that Muay Thai fighters use it as it's more reasonably priced.
Okay.
I think in MMA, it's probably the most commonly used drug. A funny example is Kimbo Slice tested positive for this drug.
Oh, okay.
So as opposed to in bodybuilding where guys are using injectable steroids, I'm not saying that no MMA fighters do that. I'm sure that there are some. But the majority of MMA fighting athletes, kickboxing athletes, Muay Thai fighters, are probably not interested in using injectable steroids. They want to use an oral steroid.
Okay.
And stanozol would be the most common. So it's just a little pill. They take the stanozol, and they're a little bit stronger.
And is this an illegal drug? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, here it's not.
So I could purchase that in Thailand?
But absolutely. Okay. But it is a WADA banned substance. It's banned in every performance enhancing list.
You don't want to be caught with it.
Absolutely. Okay. If you get caught with this, you're cheating.
All right. I guess my last question on this segment would be since this segment is called the dark side of fitness, obviously these professional athletes have a crazy amount of fitness, and to reach the top, you need to be a different kind of animal.
Sure.
Especially in a sport like MMA.
Sure.
Where your job is to basically, destroy your enemy.
Yeah.
That, in your opinion, what would you say is the dark aspect of MMA or Muay Thai? Things that we don't really talk about, but it's known in your circle, in the elite level.
Yeah, so one of the descriptions of MMA that was thrown around for a while was slow maiming. So basically, if you do this sport for long enough, and this is exactly why I stopped doing it, your body is going to break down. You will slowly maim yourself. It goes for your body itself, but particularly your brain. Yeah. And that's another thing that comes up when I look at these Muay Thai fighters that have 600 fights.
Yeah.
Okay, if they were actually fighting and taking blows to the head for 600 fights, for sure they'll have CTE, for sure. Mm-hmm. It's crazy to even consider that. It's not, physically it's a very demanding sport for sure, but also mentally it's a demanding sport. There's a lot of fighters that are training for 6 hours a day. Yeah. On diets, and to be honest, in the coaching circle, what we see guys go through, specifically in weight cutting divisions, so like the UFC where they cut a lot of weight. Yeah. These guys are following very unhealthy diets. Yeah. So they're crashing themselves, and they're eating no carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the main fuel source for your brain. If you don't have any, you're gonna go a little bit crazy. Yeah. these are already guys that are maybe not the most stable anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, they're choosing to fight people for money. So
Yeah, I mean, the most common example for me personally was when I saw when Conor McGregor used to cut for featherweight.
Yeah.
I mean, he has no right to be
Yeah.
a featherweight.
Yeah.
And it was literally like watching a skeleton. His
Yeah,
cheeks would just be sucked in
yeah,
just before he goes into the locker room,
Yeah.
before he weighs, and then when it comes to fight, they just blow
Totally
up.
different person.
Yeah, it's like a balloon. They literally blow up. All right, and maybe sorry, I keep saying last question, but I'm too interested and must keep going. But promise last question. What I wanted to ask was like, maybe things like One Championship, MMA, and UFC. I'm not going to go much into match fixing. UFC, it's a bit more hard, but One FC, and I'm not quite sure, but you can comment on it if you think. But like, definitely Muay Thai in Thailand. I've heard many stories, and this is personal stories of my friends who, like, especially if you're a foreigner. If you're a foreigner going to a low-level Muay Thai fight with like a local Thai guy, it's very difficult for you to win a match on points. You must knock out that guy, or you're most probably not going to win that
Yeah.
match. So, match fixing and these kind of scandals are well known for fighters, but
have a good
how
personal
often
story
does
on
this
this
happen? Oh, go on. I want to know about it.
When I decided I was going to stop fighting,
Okay.
I already I was making pretty good money already without fighting, and then I was offered to fight the Malaysia National Heavyweight Muay Thai champion
Okay.
in like 2 weeks' notice, and his brother was the promoter.
Okay.
That's suspicious. I'm gonna have to pass on that. And I was offered like $500, so I'm a
$500 to fight the Malaysian national champion.
heavyweight champion.
Oh wow.
Heavyweight
Okay.
champion.
All right. All right.
So it's,
Yeah.
of course that's fixed.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
They in my case, they wanted to bring a big scary looking white guy to lose to the Malaysian guy. And even if I won, which would have had to have been by knockout, if I
knockout,
was
yeah.
going to win,
It's a scandal. It's a
it would
lucky-
just make it look like, oh, he's the big bad guy, and then they would use me the next time to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, absolutely.
But
At
is
least
there-
on some level.
Yeah. But like, if you're like an ordinary guy, because like, for example, like you're an ordinary Muay Thai fighter from Buriram, there's thousands of them. Can more money be made just by losing again and again?
Oh, sure. No
Right?
way.
No?
I think you have your journeyman guys, right?
Okay.
Maybe these are guys that are just desperate.
Okay. Yeah.
These guys that are just losing. You certainly see it in the pro ranks of MMA.
Yeah.
You see guys with records of, 3-13.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this guy's being brought in to lose.
Yeah.
I don't understand why.
It's like a warm-up fight for the
Yeah.
next star.
Maybe they like it, or maybe that's their only job option.
Okay.
Yeah.
Walter, even though this segment is called The Dark Side of Fitness, there's always some positives, even in bad things, and there's always a light. Currently, COVID obviously has destroyed the fitness industry in a way where we weren't allowed to go to gyms for a very long time. So let's just start off by you're from Phuket, but you also work in Bangkok and, all over Thailand. You've worked in Vietnam for many, many years. What's the fitness industry currently like, and how is it looking for the near future?
Well, I think it's absolutely coming back in a big way, and even stronger than before. The influencer culture has dramatically impacted Asia because, before it's always been a thing to go take pictures in Thailand, take pictures in Phuket.
Yeah.
Oh look, here I'm on the beach.
Yeah, I'm shirtless on a beach.
Yeah.
I'd do it if I could, but nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, well now you've got, your social media influencers coming from around the world to take pictures here and train here, and some of them have even moved here to become part of the culture. You've got guys with 6 million followers on Instagram that have now lived here full time. I think it's also good too. There's a few guys like there's a guy named Steve who is an expert in health, and he's become part of the community, and he tries to guide people in the right direction. I think that's really good stuff. So you've got everything. You've got growth in the industry. You've got a positive image going on. You've got ambassadors leading the way, and then you also have people that are trying to steer people in the right direction too.
Yeah, and with the general craze, we were talking earlier about the general craze of fitness in Thailand. I think Thailand in general is a country where most people are in shape, I would say. comparing like the age range from young to old, most people are quite in shape, and generally Thai food is quite healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, what would you say, like, you know, with this sudden craze, obviously, do you feel like there's a positive aspect of this whole fitness craze?
Absolutely. So I think it's, you know, it's good for the economy for sure. Because of the popularity of it, you know, people were becoming more fit and more healthy and more health conscious. On top of, with COVID, people are already becoming more fit and more healthy and more interested in taking care of themselves. What I think is really cool about Thailand that isn't really possible in almost anywhere else in the world is you can come and live in Thailand, so long as you have the correct credentials.
Yeah.
And you can eat food cheaply that you could not eat in other countries for the same price at all. You know, 1/5 the price or less.
Yeah.
That is of a healthy diet. So you can come here, never cook your own meal. Like, you know, growing up, I had to cook all my own meals because it's just not. You can't go eat at McDonald's and be healthy. You need healthy food, and so you have to cook it. But here, you can go out and eat on the street, and you can have perfectly healthy food that matches any diet. That's amazing. You know, you've got guys coming here, live here to be athletes full time, that don't cook any of their own food, and they've got perfectly healthy diets, everything they need.
All right, Walter, thanks a lot for coming in. Let's take a moment to plug you. Now, not only are you a fitness instructor, but you've got many businesses going on. Why don't you have a look at the camera and tell the people what you've got going on?
Yeah, you can find me at Maximum Fitness in Patong and Phuket. They're training people, doing the personal training business for them. You can find me at Saigon Sports Club in Vietnam if you go to Vietnam.
Yeah. And if you're in Vietnam.
Yeah. Gorilla Supplements, if you need any protein or anything like that, you can find me on there. And then you just find me on Instagram at Walter Viking.
All right. When you think about fitness, think about Walter Viking. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed this segment of the dark side of fitness. Thank you very much, Walter.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, viewers. Hope you have a great day.